Welcome to Quilt As You Go, a popular method for making a big job more manageable. In today's class, you'll learn how to quilt as you go, block by block, row by row, or column by column. You'll discover how to work in small sections, and yet people will think it's a whole cloth quilt. You'll learn how to add sparkle to a quilt with Mylar embroidery from our friends at Purely Gates. And finally, you'll be introduced to some nifty tools that make Quilt As You Go fun, fast, and beautiful. You're in for a treat. Let's get started.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Quilt As You Go. I am Tammy Madden, and I will be your dime educator for the next 90 minutes. We will be talking about using your embroidery machine to quilt blocks. We will be sharing different methods and ways you can join those blocks together. And of course, we have tools and products to assist you. So you guys would not be here if it wasn't for our great friends at Embroidery.com. So if Kirsten could please join me so we can see what's going on. Hi, Kirsten.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. Hi, Tammy.
We're happy to have you here. And I know we were chatting before the presentation a little bit. So would you like to tell everybody what's going on at Embroidery.com?
Well, yeah, we have had record snow here for a long time. When the groundhog said 6 more weeks of winter, he wasn't kidding. So what we're doing at Embroidery.com, we're so happy that spring is finally on the way. We've got all of our spring, Easter, Celtic, and Irish designs on sale through the end of April. So I'd really like to invite you to enjoy the coming spring with us.
That sounds great. I know you have lots of products that you can offer, and I can't wait to have everybody join your website to see all the discounts that they can get for your spring collection. I know I can't wait for spring here. It is a little chilly still here, but luckily I'm not getting all that snow that you guys are getting, so that's a good thing. Well, Kirsten, we have a lot to go over, so before we get started, I do want to ask you, what is your favorite dime product?
Oh, well, that's easy. It fits in this box. That's what it came in, and it is my Snap Hoop Monster. I was never a friend of hooping until I got this, and it just makes it so much easier. And I don't use my regular hoop for almost anything anymore because I love it so much, and I use it all the time. It also came with these little centering rulers to put on it. Haven't done that yet, but I may do it.
Well, I can't wait to see it done on your hoop. Yeah, Kirsten, I will not quilt without a Snap Hoop Monster. It is one of my must-have tools for quilting, so we will be going over the Snap Hoop Monsters in the presentation as well. Perfect. Well, Kirsten, are you ready to get this started?
Yes, I'm so excited. Let's do it.
All right, sounds great. Well, folks, there's one more person I want to introduce you to before we get started, and that is our very own Ashley Jones.
Hey, Tammy. How are you today?
I am doing great. Ashley, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here with you and see what you have to teach us about Quilt As You Go.
Well, folks, you are in great hands because Ashley's going to be over in the chat. Ashley, would you want to explain to them what's going to be happening over in the chat for the next 90 minutes?
Yes, absolutely. So I will be over there answering any questions, and then several times throughout the presentation, Tammy will call for me to see what questions we need to answer live, and I will bring some of those questions to her and get her opinion. And if I am going to save your question, I'll make sure to let you know.
Well, Ashley, I know they're in great hands because I bet everybody knows Ashley. She's our lead educator here at Dime. So I know she probably can answer all those questions for you herself. But like she says, we will bring some of those questions to the live Q&A because sometimes we have folks that rewatch this and they're not here during the presentation. So Ashley, are you ready to get started?
I am. Take it away, Tammy. I'll see you in a bit.
All right, sounds great. Well, you guys are in treat today. I know Ashley will take great care of you over there in the chat because like I said, she knows everything about dime. So keep her busy because we like her to be busy over there in chat. So let's talk about Quilt As You Go. We are going to talk about methods of making a quilt, but you don't have to make a whole quilt because there's other things that you can do out of quilt blocks. You know, I saw that, you probably saw that picture of that jacket in the beginning slide, but I'm going to go over that a little bit later as well. But think about quilting in sections or block by block. It might be rows. It might be block, but it might be a smaller piece. And then we're also going to show you how different ways that you can join those blocks. And then binding, of course, because the benefit as Quilt As You Go, it is great for beginners. You can work in small pieces so you are not overwhelmed by a very large product. but a great way to embellish your quilt too. And you're going to see some some of the different ways that I embellish my quilt other than the regular binding process. There's a lot of time we want to put our quilts together, but we don't have the time for our big quilts. So this makes it go a little bit quicker as you do the method. So the quilt work is done in smaller pieces, and I really love that because sometimes I just want to stitch and I don't have time to make a whole quilt at one time. So I can do a couple blocks and then I can put it together. But I also like to do block by block quilting when I'm making placemats. Now, you can make a quilt if you want, but take a look here. You can make other projects as well, wall hangings, trivets. And what about this one? This was actually a different joining technique. Now, I love this technique when I'm making baby quilts. You might hear it called rag quilts. That is another name for it. But this baby stippling quilt is actually joined in by rows. And it gives that rag effect when you snip into those seams and frays it. Now, the more you wash it, the more it frays and it turns into a beautiful quilt. Now, here is that beautiful jacket that I mentioned just a little bit earlier. That is a beautiful jacket that was created and stitched by Eileen Roach. She planned her blocks over a pattern. So she did like a quilt pattern, and then she cut her sewing pattern out of those quilt blocks, and then she joined them together. Isn't that a beautiful jacket? Now take a look here. Here's some other quilting ideas. What about a cute casserole or a trivet? That is a double oven mitt too that you see on the left-hand side. So just think about little items if you don't want to start with one big quilt. Or how about a beautiful pillow? Wouldn't that pillow look great on a bench? I love the letters from Pearly Gates, and I even have an example that I'm going to be showing you of those fonts a little bit later. But I also love how they did a quilt with those words on the road. How about a nice inspiration quilt for somebody that might be going through a hard time, that you put a few different words on there? It could really make their day. But look at this cute little tote bag, or this little box. Now down there on the right-hand side bottom, you can see that they did a bag, and it actually is a yoga bag. Who would have thought, right? So you can do lots of things with Quilt As You Go. Here's a couple more items. Look at this wall hanging. Very cute, a placement mat and a trivet. Now here, today's event was brought to you by Dime, and we are an embroidery solution company. So we have lots of great information to share with you today and lots of tools. We have collaborated with Patricia Gates of Pearly Gates Design. Patricia is the founder of Pearly Gates Design, and she has some exclusive embroidery designs that we have to offer you today. And we thought it would be great with your Quilt As You Go method. So let's hear a special message from Patricia of Pearly Gates Design.
I'm Patricia from Pearly Gates Embroidery, the home of Mylar embroidery. Our machine embroidery designs are created to magically sparkle, and that sparkle adds depth and dimension to the designs, and all this without using any specialty threads. Only portions of each design are created to sparkle, so to know when to place the Mylar over the design in the sequence of stitching, consult the color change chart we provide with each collection. With 180 different collections available, you won't run out of ideas or inspiration. The potential projects you can create from each collection is endless. We want your experience with machine embroidery to be fun and creative, and this is where our collaboration with Dime is a perfect match. Our color change charts included with each collection use Dime's exquisite thread color numbers. In addition to being a veteran user of Dime's thread and stabilizers, I use the print and stick target paper, the sticky hoop, poly patch twill, and I love how the snap hoop monster makes quilting on an embroidery machine easy. Pearly Gates Embroidery and Dime products work so well together. Dime is the brand I use for all of my embroidery projects. Thank you.
I love that message from Patricia, and we love her designs. They are impressive, and we have some of those today that we're going to share with you. We're going to talk about Mylar as well and how to use it, but we're also going to talk about joining methods for your blocks, some quick and easy ways to do it. We're also going to see inspirations, so we have samples to share with you. We also are going to talk about piecing and quilting in the hoop, all-in-one hooping. We have a program that does that, so I'm going to share that with you as well. But today you're going to watch me over here in the video screen. I will show slides, software demos, and samples. Right next to the Windows screen, that is where Ashley is over in the window chat. Feel free to ask your comments. You can ask your questions, and you can leave comments because we'll pause throughout the program and bring some of those during a live Q&A. Now, this is a learn and shop event. That means you have the opportunity to purchase selected products at a special event price. Everything we have on special today is also supporting embroidery.com. So make sure you take advantage of the special pricing. Now, you don't have 48 hours like the slide says. You actually have the next, 72 hours up until Sunday. Well, that might be more than 72 hours. My math isn't good right now. That's why I have programs to do my quilt math for me. But whatever time, how many hours it is, you will have until Sunday evening to rewatch the presentation. And also you can rewind it, you can fast forward, and you can watch it as many times as you want. Now, all the images you see down below are on special today. If you click that green button, it will show you additional information about that item. I will talk about these throughout the presentation today as well. Now, once you see something that you like, you can add it to your cart. And once your cart is full, you're going to go ahead and hit the checkout button because it's going to bring you to an important screen here. Now, here you'll see that show order summary. If you click it, it is going to drop down a box down here to show you gift card or discount codes. Now, we have 2 new discount codes for the beginning of the year. And so I want you to take advantage of those. The first discount code is Shamrock Ship. That will give you free shipping over a purchase of $150. That's $150, not $149.99. So if you spend $150, you will get free shipping. Now, if you use Shamrock 10 for anything over $250 purchase, you'll get additional 10% off. Now, folks, you can use both of those codes at the same time. So if you purchase more than $250 worth of products, you'll get the free shipping and the 10% off. So take advantage of that if it's available for you. Now, speaking of free, we always like to give you a free design. This free design is located in the last page in the shopping cart. Add it to your cart free of charge, and after checkout, you will receive an email with download instruction. Now, it comes in all machine formats, so no matter what machine you have, you'll be able to stitch it out. It is a 4x4 block. It does a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so that means it fit in your 5x7 frame. Now, this block piece in the hoop, and it is quilted in the same hoop. And we're going to talk about that process today. Now, we want to make sure that you pay attention to today's bundles. We have several bundles that we're going to offer because, when we bundle, that means that you save. So anytime we have an event, we're going to give you special savings on the products. Get additional savings anytime we bundle. So make sure that you keep an eye out that because that is the best way to get the great prices. Now, before we get started, let's head underneath my camera so I can show you some inspiration on the things that we'll be talking about today. Now, here you can see this cute little placemat I created as Quilt As You Go. You see each of the blocks are joined with sashing. Well, I did sashing here, and I did a sashing here. And then I also did stitch in the ditch. This was a fun project. This is from our Sea Life stipple down below. Now, these are going to be smaller products that you're going to see me showing you because I can't show you a whole quilt or a whole products underneath the camera because my camera space is limited. But this was a fun, quick process. I thought this was cute to do for a placemat. And as the back, you can see, I just did stitch in the ditch to quilt that. But isn't that cute? Now, the next item I want to show you would be from our sprinkles selection. Now, our sprinkle selection it comes with more designs than this, but like I said, I kind of cut it down so that I can show you in the screen. But this was a fun project to do. I don't know if you can tell, but I even brought in some vinyl for the sparkly vinyl for my ice cream cups. And look here what I did. I did right sides together when I quilted these. And instead of using my normal binding, I used rickrack. It has a little bit of a shimmer and shine to go with my sparkle vinyl. So I really enjoyed making this. I thought this would be fun to do, especially for like an ice cream party or something. And this was applique. So I did an applique, I did quilting, and I also did my vinyl. So I really enjoyed this project as well. So the next project I want to talk to, this is going to be a little different. Now this is 4 blocks here that I created in the hoop with our program. And it looks like I created circles, but I actually didn't. This is actually an applique, and I will go over that a little bit later. So I took 4 blocks to make a 12-inch square. I did applique. I used metallic thread. This is so beautiful. I love these colors together and how it turned out. Really easy to do. And then I binded it with my choice. Now, if you see in the back, the designs in the back look just as beautiful as on the front. And I will be going over this process a little bit later on how I did my binding as well. But this is a cute project to do and so fun and exciting to do. Now, we talked about pearly gates. So I'm going to take a look at this wall hanging. Now, this one is a pearly gate design collection. It doesn't fit underneath my camera the right way, so I'm going to have to put it sideways. But I don't know if you can pick up, maybe you could pick up that mylar in those letters. So this was 3 different blocks. I actually just butted them together and sewed the seams together, and then I used ribbon to connect them. And then I added this little hanger on to hang in my sewing room. Now this is a mylar floor monogram. I pieced the blocks, like I said, in the hoop, and then I brought the design in and stitched it all at one time. And we're going to show you how you can create your blocks and stitching all in one design. Now you can piece blocks in the hoop with my block piecer software that we're going to be talking about. But there's a couple more samples I want to show you real quick. Here is another one. I brought this block in. I brought this design in from Pearly Gates. I added the quilting around it. I know it's hard to see that white on one. And then I also brought in a font here to place it on this hanger for my sewing room. This was a fun one to do as well. Now, a lot of times when you do these blocks, you don't have to have any stabilizer, but I do recommend that if you are a stitch heavy design, you probably will want to use your stabilizer that is appropriate for your design. But if you're just doing run stitches for your quilting, then you may not need to go over any use any stabilizer, but we'll talk about that as well. So let's head back to the presentation so we can see how I created those. All right, so the stabilizer we use, I talked about, is our piece in the hoop, piece and stitch stabilizers. Ooh, that was hard to get out. This is a stabilizer that is a soft tearaway texture, and it is easy. It remains in the fabric after you wash it over and over. It has the ability where it gets softer and softer after you wash it. Now I'm going to head back to my camera real quick because I am sorry I forgot to show you this project under the camera real quick. I want to show you that I use piece and stitch software. Now I made this block in the software. This is actually 4 blocks that I ended up making a 12-inch block. But I used the piece and stick stabilizer, and then I tore it out. So every time I wash this, it's going to get softer and softer. Now here is another example that I did, this little block here. Now in the software, you can go all the way down to about a 1-inch block. So you can make the block as small as you want to as large as you want, as long as you have a hoop that supports it. But I wanted to show you this one here. I actually have the stabilizer in. So this one, I kept the stabilizer in. This is a no-show mesh. And then the other stabilizer here, I tore out, very easy to tear out. And then after I launder it a few times, it won't even be back in there. So there's a couple different ways that you can use the stabilizer in your quilt block. So let's head back to the presentation because we already started talking about the piece and stick stabilizer. So I just wanted to show you how it was so easy to tear away from the back of the block that you can't even notice it. Now that was the light show no stabilizer that we used. They were both on special, so grab those at a great price. So let's talk about making blocks. Now I will start with this because it's really easy to piece a block with your embroidery machine because your embroidery machine does all the work and it's perfect. You don't have to worry about squaring up your designs because they're already squared up because your embroidery machine is doing it for you. Now we're going to talk about 2 dyeing programs today. Now I know software isn't for everyone, but I do want to show you about how easy it is to put these 2 softwares together to create a great design. The reason why you like these 2 together is because my block piece will allow you to generate a file to piece in the hoop, like this diamond block you see here. And then the Quilt Embellisher program will allow you to create a quilting design, a custom quilting design. So owning the 2 together is like creating a block in the hoop. One design to piece it, and the other one to add the embellishment to it. Now, isn't that cool? Now, we're going to also show you that your free example today is exactly that. We quilted it, And then we added the design with using my block piecer and my quilt embellisher. Now, my block piecer program, it allows you to piece blocks in the hoop. You can create any size you want. You can create also custom blocks if you want. Now, I'm going to show you how you can use the built-in ones, but you can resize with no calculations. Remember, my math was horrible when I was trying to figure out those hours. So I love that we have a software that will do all my calculations for me. You can generate cut files with your digital cutter. You can also do an AccuQuilt quilter. If you have that product, you can cut your pieces and you can even audition your fabric. The quilt embellisher program is what embellishes your block. So it creates the quilting design. You can create quilting designs, applique. You can also create crazy quilt stitches in this program as well. It really is an impressive program individually, but together they are a reckon to be with. They are more powerful. They have hundreds of options for quilting, and you can create your own as well. So let's see these two together before we do our break. So this program both works on Mac and Windows. They both have free updates, and they both save to all embroidery machine formats and for your home embroidery machine. So no special machines are required. We save in, like I said, all machine formats, and you get free updates for the life of the software. So let's head to the software to see how powerful they are together. So here is my block. Here is my software, and as you can see here, I'm in my quilt embellisher and my block piecer. Now, we just had an update, probably, I'm going to say, last week or so, that would give us the function of being able to work these two softwares together. So if you already own them, make sure you do your update. So let's see how these programs work together. Now, I'm over here in my tool shed, and you can see that I have my two softwares. Now, all of these features of these two programs are joined together in what I'm going to show you today. Now, here is my quilt block library. Now, my quilt block library is shared between multiple softwares, and both of them being the ones that we're seeing today, my quilt embellisher and my block piecer. Now, this library block is a combination of blocks. You can do, look at all the 100 blocks. We have alphabet blocks. We have the basic. We have circle blocks. Now, here's the tip on circle blocks. So the curve blocks are for my quilt embellisher because you cannot piece the circle blocks in the hoop. But you saw that I turned them into an applique stitch, so you can do an applique stitch in the hoop, but you can't piece in the hoop. So those two of the things later on, hopefully I can show you that. Now, the library has hundreds of different blocks in here. Here's the curved ones. Here's the drunken path. Here's diamond and square. We can sit here all day and we can go over and show you all these beautiful different quilt blocks. We have foundation blocks. We have 4 patch. We have the geese blocks. Our geese are going north, south, east to west, crossing the road and everywhere else. We have the log cabin. We have the 9 patch. The list is on and on. Now, here's a little trick. If you know the name of it, you can type it here in this block and hit OK, and it will help you find it. You're also, if you're looking for a certain size, you can do a 4x6, 4x4, 6x6, 8x6, 10x10 are custom, are a default. That just gives you some idea of if you're looking for a certain size. But once again, you can always resize it, and I'm going to show you how. So let's go up here to a basic block because I'm going to take it back to the basics. So let's go here under basics, and let's start with I'm going to do a diamond. Let's start with a diamond, and I'm going to hit OK. Now this diamond, it's going to come in at a 8x8, but I'm going to change it down to a 6x6. And then I'm going to hit apply. So that's just putting my diamond down to a 6x6. That means I can do 4 finished blocks together to have a 12-inch block. Now to create a stitch file, because I'm using 2 softwares together, I'm going to go right over here and I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to hit workflow. Once I hit this workflow, I'm going to do auto build. I'm going to sort my numbers, and I'm going to say yes, and then I'm going to preview. So this gives a stitch file and show us the workflow. Well, I still need to save it, so I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to put, let's do sample 10. And then I'm going to save it into my machine format. Now, my machine format is a brother, so I'm going to hit brother. But I also want to show you real quick, look at all these different formats. We have them for every machine all commercial, all major embroidery machines and even some commercials. So I'm sure we have your machine there. If you can do regular stitch embroidery files, we save to your machine. So I'm just going to hit my brother and I'm going to hit save. Now this is going to bring in my work. Let me hit here. Oh, there we go. So this is going to show me my sample block. It's going to give me my workflow, and it's also going to tell me how I can work a PDF file to tell me all my stitches and how to stitch them out and how to save them. So I'm going to double click on this one, and it's going to bring me in. I'm going to hit close. So there is my block that I pieced together. Now, if I go up here and I hit this redraw, you can see that it's going to lay down my foundation piece. This is going to print on your stabilizer. So you knows exactly where you can lay your block pieces. And then it's going to lay down the numbers. And the next thing is going to tack down those lines and then secure those. Look how easy it was to create that quilt block, a piece that quilt block in a hoop. Isn't that easy? What if you want to create a quilt design? So I'm going to use, let's go to get a new pieces of paper, a new file, and let's go back to that diamond. And then I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn this back into a 6x6 because that's what I normally like to use if I'm doing Quilt As You Go, because then I can create my 12-inch blocks. Now, we're going to embellish this. So up here is my embellishers. I have text, I have borders, I have decor, but I also have this embellishment machine. Our software is icon driven. That means anytime I move over these icons, it's telling me exactly what these icons do. So let's go underneath this embellishment. So look at all these embellishments. Now these embellishments have usually a square, a rectangle, and a triangle design in them. You know, here's a triangle, here's a circle. Some of the other ones are a little bit easier to point it out. Here's a square, here's going to be my rectangle, here's my half circle. Now when I'm creating a design, I just kind of sometimes sit here and I play, I'll audition. You know, I keep telling them that maybe we need to do a warning label that once you start playing, you can spend hours. I'm just thumbing through here so you can see all the different designs real quickly before we get our embellishment. But as you can see, there's several different elements that you can bring in depending on what you work for. And I haven't even hit all of them. And look at the list goes on. We have hearts, we have holidays, leaves, native owls. If you're an owl person, look at there. That's cute. There's snails. We even have sea. I mean, wouldn't that be cute on a Nautica quilting? We have the Southwest. We have squares and we have swirls. So let's go up here and let me choose. I think I like the crisscross one. It doesn't really matter which one you use, but let's do this embellishment here. And I'm gonna hit OK. So I'm gonna bring that in, and I always like to group my designs. It's just something that I do personally. And then you can resize it because you can see it's only doing my square inside, which is perfectly fine because then I can go in and I can get embellishments for my triangles as well. But I want this to do my whole block. So I can come up here, I can come here and I can stretch my design. Now, one great thing about when I stretch these designs, it's actually recalculating my stitch. So it's not making my design smush or, sometimes when you pull and drag, you distort your design. Well, this is not distorting my design because it's actually recalculating my stitches. Now, I just want to make sure it's centered. So I'm gonna go up here, I'm gonna center my origin. And so there is my block. So all I have to do now is I can go to File, Save As, and I can bring it onto my block. Now, I forgot I should have brought it in the block because I wanted to show you. But let's go here and let me grab that design real quick. So I'm going to go here, copy, and then I'm going to go back to this my design here, and I'm going to paste it here. So this is my quilt design. Now, I could have done them on the same way, but I forgot to go ahead and build my workflow. So pretend I built my workflow and then I put my embellishment on there. So if I go back up here to my redraw, you're going to see that it's going to piece my block down first. And then it's going to stitch my embroidery design right on top of there. Now you can put your batting down, or you can choose to not put your batting down and just stitch on top of your top fabric. And then add your batting and backing to the back. There's tons of different options you could do, and throughout the presentations, you're going to see different ways that we quilt. So look how easy that was. Makes sense, right? Very easy. So let's talk about creating a design. Let's go here. I'm going to get a new piece of paper. And let's come here and let's try, this snowball right here is another basic design that works really great. This is what I use for my wall hanging to create that SEW. So let's hit snowflake and hit OK. So I want to make sure that I create my workflow. So I'm going to go over here. Let's change that back. I think I did keep it as an 8x8, so we'll just keep it as 8x8. And let's do my workflow. I'm going to do auto build, sort numbers, hit yes, preview. Oh, my larger hoops. See, that's why I usually like 6. So here is different hoop sizes. So we have all the machines, different hoop. I had it on my Brother Baby Lock 300 to 200, but it's telling me, nope, you need to go higher. So let's go. Let's see. Let's go back down to 6x6 because my largest, I only have the 8 width. So it will not do this design in an 8x8 design. So let's close this and let's change it back to my 6. Then we're going to create our workflow and then it will be able to fit in my hoop all in piece. Now, if I did not want to rehoop and stuff, if I wanted to rehoop, I could do an 8x8, but I'd have to break this, the design apart and stuff. So I'm going to hit preview and then I'm going to save it. And let's save it as block 3. And then I'm going to save it in my machine format. And I'm going to hit save. And it's going to bring it in here. So here's the designs. And so I'm going to bring that block and I'm going to hit close. So then I'm going to bring it in my design. Now I'm going to bring it in designs from the Pearly Gates design. It was my floral monogram 2. I use the lowercase. So I'm going to go down here, hit design file, hit PES because that's my machine format. And down here on the bottom of this screen, it shows like all the formats for my PES. I can bring in a flower. I can bring in the letters, but let's go down here to my S and bring in my S. So I'm going to bring in my S. I'm going to make sure that it's centered. And there we go. We're going to need to move that down a little bit because I don't want it on my seam allowance. And then I'm going to center the origin again. And there we go. So then we can go here to workflow. Oh, sorry. Print the template. Let's go to workflow here. And you can see that it is going to stitch down that block. And then it's going to start my embroidery. So I pieced my block in the software and I even add my embroidery design. So I can do this all in one step without taking it in and out of the hoop. Now these are a Mylar designs, so they're a little bit more of a stitch in here, but they turn out beautiful. So that was nice and easy. Now there's one more thing I want to show you before we have our next Q&A. So make sure you are getting those questions in to Ashley because we are close to there. I'm going to grab my snowball real quick. I'm going to show you what if you want to do, a lot of times we find designs and we want to do our echo quilting around there. I'm going to show you how easy it is to echo quilt. So I'm going to go to Mylar Chefs and PES and look at all these little squirrels. I think they're cute. There's so many things you could do. Look at these little people. I'm going to grab this lady I saw earlier. She had a turkey in her hand. I think she's down here somewhere. Right here she is. And I'm going to bring her on here. Now she's a little too tall for my block, so I'm going to squish her down a little bit. And then I am going to center her. Make sure she is centered. So now all I have to do is I'm going to right click on her. Right click, go to utilities and create outline. Now for some reason I always kind of default to 0.15. That is something that I like to do. You can do your distant mirror outline yourself. Here is a new part of our update. You can preview this. Now before, if you had the software, you had to go out of it to preview and then go back in it. Well, now you can preview it on this screen. So if you didn't like it, you can come back up here. Now here you can sit here and you can do the different repeats if you only did some, but watch this. So I'm going to go back here and only do one though, and hit preview, and then I'm going to hit OK. So that brought in my little lady. So I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to select this outline, and then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to combine them. Now, once I combine them, that's kind of like making a cookie cutter out of there. So I can actually move her off the screen and there'd be white behind her. So then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do my echo quilting. Give it a few minutes. Ta-da. Look how nice and quick and easy that was to create that echo quilting. Now, you're probably wondering what kind of education we have for this software, and I will be going over that as well. But let's have a Q&A to see if there's any questions or comments before we get on. So Ashley, how's it going over there in the chat?
It's going good. Everybody's loving your presentation. In fact, Kirsten said she loved your curved block. So, and I agree, the black and the purple that you put together was gorgeous. But my personal favorite was the stipple sprinkle with the glitter heat transfer. That was awesome. So very cute. And then we do have a couple of questions that came up. Kirsten and I did answer, but I thought I would mention to you so you could maybe talk about it. But I think it's coming up too. So Shelly S asked about stitching with Mylar. So you mentioned that in your sample from Purely Gates, but I think you're going to talk a little bit more about Mylar and how it works with designs. That's coming up, correct?
Yes, later on in the presentation, I will show you how to work with Mylar. It is so easy. You know, it's basically you're laying it down, you're going to do a little bit of stitching on top of it, and then you're going to tear it away. And it tears away so nice and easy. I love working with Mylar. Anytime that I want to add shine or glimmer to it, you know, we have our Keenstar Metallic that adds shine. But sometimes you want shine in that embroidery design, and this is a great way to get that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and Shelly was asking about which designs it works with. So I know that you'll get to that. So we did answer to help her, but I know you'll go over that in more detail as well. And then Karen Gates asked about the stabilizer that you were using when you were talking about piecing the block. So do you want to give a little bit more information about that? She was specifically wondering if it shrank. So will you tell a little bit about the stabilizer that you're piecing on?
Yeah, you know, depending on which, you know, the no show, it doesn't shrink. I have it. I use it quite a bit for my quilting stuff. I made a in the hoop, well, piecing actually, Quilt As You Go of a memory quilt, and I used it, and I was worried because I didn't know how it was going to affect it, but it held up very great in my laundry. Now the piece and stitch stabilizer that we use, it's not water soluble, but over time, it actually, I don't know, it like dissipates. It just disappears. I don't know what happens to it.
Right. I agree. It's not like our dissolvable.
Yeah, I mean, we tear most of it out, but I don't know where it goes. But you know, you don't feel any like the balling up or the cakiness or any. I don't know. Actually, do you know where it goes?
I don't know. So I do know that some of the fibers are not water soluble and some are, but it's almost like they get softer. And so it's not like our wash away stabilizer that completely dissolves. It just kind of gets softer as it's washed. So which is one of the reasons we love that one for leaving it in our quilts for sure. So
yeah, it kind of like blends in with that cotton fabric. I don't know what it like. You cannot feel it, so I just say it disappears.
Yeah, and the piece stitch is my favorite. I prefer to piece on that, even if I do leave it. But I know some people really prefer the no-show stabilizer. You know, for if they're going to leave it in. I use both, but I agree with you. You know, Tammy, it's really probably depends on what you're going to do with your block for sure. So, and then one other question that just popped up, Shelly asked about the software that you're using and if those are standalone programs. So will you maybe give a little detail about which two that you're using and then talk about them installing them together or if they just need one or the other?
Absolutely. Actually, that's exactly what we're getting ready to talk about is the two different softwares, but they are a standalone program. But I'm going to show you how we have them that you can get them individually, but they work great together. So I'm getting ready to head into that segment right after we're getting done here, Ashley.
Well, that was perfect. I didn't even mean to do it, but that was a perfect segue. So I'll let you get back to it, and then I will be over in the chat, and I'll see you again in a bit.
Sounds great. keep those questions coming. I love when Ashley's busy over there. It gives her time to work and stuff. I believe she probably takes naps, don't you? No, Ashley is a hard worker. So thank you, Ashley, for being over there with me today. So let's look at ways to learn this software, and we will get to more details about the software as well in this segment. Now, to learn the software from Dime, we really want you to learn the software. This is why we're here, and I want you to take advantage and join our Facebook group. Now, our Facebook group is called Dime Inspire Software Users. This has 1,000 knowledgeable members. You can even ask your questions, and I guarantee you'll have answers. You'll probably have more answers than you want, but even our education team lurks over there, so they will be happy to help you as well. Now, I'm thrilled to announce that our new Dime software education program called Software Success. You see this picture here? Does that look familiar? Yes, that is our lead educator, Ashley Jones. She has this software education program, Software Success, every Tuesday of the 1st and 3rd of each month. And I believe her next one will be this coming Tuesday, March 21st. I'm sure if I got that incorrect, she will correct me over there in the chat. But if you can't watch during that time, don't worry, because you can rewatch on either of the platforms. You can watch on our Dime Facebook group, or you can watch on YouTube. It is a great software lesson. I know I have learned a lot from her, and I continue to learn from Ashley every day, so check that out. But we also have tutorials. Our software success tutorials are available for purchase during this event. There's a ton of information. They focus on one skill at a time. They start at the basic and they take you to the advanced levels. Now, we also do private lessons over Zoom with a member of our education team. You get to choose the time, the teacher, and when you want that private lesson. You get a personal education that you get anywhere else. You get that one-on-one. And if you're interested in that, you can go to dime.com/software support. Now, our lessons are $30 for 30 minutes. I don't believe any other software company offers that. So this is really great to take advantage of it. But of course, we're here with embroidery.com. So we have a special today because, when we host an event with embroidery.com, we create bundles. And in today's bundles, you will get the tutorials and the free lesson that is included with this purchase of the software. So my quilt embellisher, that is what's making your quilt designs. You get the 8 PDF tutorials and 1 private 30-minute lesson. So you get that all for $438. But guess what, folks? That is over $250. So that's an extra 10% you can get off that software. So it says $438, but you can take 10% off that price. So make sure you use it. Now that is my quilt embellisher. Now, my block piecer, that is going to piece your blocks. That is the foundation for your quilts. Now, it comes with 3 embroidery PDF tutorials and a 1 private lesson for $439. But folks, this is also over the $250 price line, so you get the extra 10% off. So this is the foundation. So this is if you want to do the piecing of your of your blocks, you would the block piecer bundle. But guess what? Now we put together all of this. This is Treasure It All bundle. It includes my block embellisher, my block piecer. You get all the tutorials. That means the 8 and the other 3. You get plus 2 30 minutes private lessons. Now this bundle includes everything: the my block quilt, my quilt embellisher, and my quilt piecer. You do not need one or the other to work on. They are 2 separate programs. So if you just want one, you can have my block piecer or my quilt embellisher. But folks, they are great together. You've seen that we can piece and embellish all in one setting. Now this is a $1,700 value, on sale for day for $699. But plus, remember, you get that 10% off. So make sure you take advantage of that code if you want the Treasure It All bundle. Now, the question that we get quite a bit is my 12-inch block. You heard me say I like to do my blocks in 6 so that I can do 6 blocks and make a 12-inch block. We get that asking question a lot. So let me give you some tips on how to do that. First, the easiest is to create a design that you can easily separate it into 2 pieces like the one you see on the screen here. Then you can hoop your 12-inch block into 2 different pieces, and then you can put the design over that block like you see on the image there. So if you see my block squares, I put that 12-inch, and then I stitch half of that design, and then I stitch the other half of that design. So how do I do that? Well, let's head back to the software so I can show you how to create a larger block. So back in my software here, let's get a clean sheet of paper. I'm going to open up a new page and let's do file. And then we're going to do, I want to bring in my image. So I'm going to load my backdrop because I did a 12-inch block. So I'm going to bring that 12-inch block. So let me come here and find my block. Where did I put it at? Oh, there it is. Over here it shows it. So I'm going to hit open and I'm going to bring it in. So now that I have brought it in, I need to set it because it's coming in. Oh, what is this, like 36 by 36? Well, I know I don't have a hoop that big. So we're going to have to set the measurements for that block. So we come over here and we're going to do define scale. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to measure from here. Whoop, whoop. Let me even bend that back. Let me define scale again. I'm going to select it and then I'm going to measure here. Oh, it was 37.72 inches. No, we're not going to do that high. So I'm going to set it at 12 and a half because I got the seam allowance. I'm going to hit OK. So let me bring this up on the screen. So here is my block. See how quick and easy. So folks, what I did was I took a picture of the block that I did. I loaded it in on my computer, and then I just brought it into my software as an image. So I went to that back. You saw me go here to File, and then load backdrop. So you would just do that and bring in that image of the picture of your block. So that's how quick and easy it is to do that. So I know I want to use one of our built-in designs. So let's go up here to my embellisher. Now, when you're picking a design that you need to split, because we're going to have to do this in 2 hoopings, you want to, like this design here, this would be very hard to split into 2. So you want to make sure that you find a design here that you can easily split into 2. I mean, there's several here that you can use, but I just kind of play around. Like this one could be cute to do 2. Sometimes I play and I audition, but I know I like this. I'm going to use the one that we saw in the slide here. So I'm going to bring in this block leaf because I know that can be easily split. So it brings it in here. I'm going to group that, and it brings it in here real small, but it brings it in at 1.83 and the height at 3.6. Now I know I have a 12-inch block here, but I'm not going to want my stitches all the way to the end. So I'm actually going to just change this to, let's see here. Let's do 11.25. And I'm going to hit apply. Sorry. I'm going to do height, not width. 11.25. There we go. I'm like, that is way too big. There we go. So that I'm going to hit apply. So let me go here. I know there's a button here. Oh, where did it go? I can't find it right now. But there's a way that I can change the, let me see here, right here. I'm going to change this to lighter. So all I did was click my fabric and I'm going to hit apply. So then I can kind of shade out my fabric. So I was in my artwork. So all I had to do was click my design, go here, and I can adjust my lightness so that maybe you can see my stitches. Let me come here and change my stitches to a darker color there. Hopefully you guys can see that on screen. So what I would do is I would just come here and then I would center this. Now right here you have the 0 mark, so you can kind of eyeball it and center it to your left. Or we have all these tools here too, like you can vertically left, vertically right, top, bottom, all that, do your alignment. I can also come up here and hit center origin, and it's going to center it. And then I know that all I have to do is bring it over and keep it kind of even to that mark. And there we go. That's how easy it is. So I'm just going to show you, if you want to audition it, all you have to do is do copy, paste, and then you can mirror image this. And then I can bring it over. And this is what your design is going to look like once it stitches out. It's not in the center, but I would make sure it was in the center. Now, that is very cute. But I know that I don't need to do each of these because I'm only going to stitch one of them. So I'm actually going to do undo. Now, this is what I call my $1 million button, if you know me, because it's worth $1 million to me, because if I make a mistake, all I have to do is undo, undo, and it brings me back to the design I want. Now, I love that undo button because I know I can never break my software. So all I have to do is undo it. So I want to print a template. So all I have to do is select it, and then I can come up here and I can hit print. And let me bring this on screen. And you can see that it actually broke it down into 2 pieces, but that's no problem because our print and stick target paper has lines to line those up perfectly. So there was my top and there was my bottom, and the last page will show me exactly how to line that up. As you can see, when you print it out, it gives you all these crosshairs to help you with your alignment. So that is how quick and easy it is to bring in an image, and you can create and design your block image. Your block quilting on there. So I'm gonna head to underneath the camera because we're gonna show you how to line up those designs. So here is my camera. Let's head over there real quick. Here is that block that I showed you. Here is my template. We're gonna work this way. You know, we're only allowed so much room underneath the camera, and sometimes I feel like I don't have enough. So here is that printed template that I done. It was real easy to line up these lines together and create one block file. Now, I made a quilt sandwich. I'm using quilt sandwich, so I'm going to hoop my back fabric and my batting into my hoop. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to end up placing my block here, and then I'm going to line this up here, and then I'm going to line it up. But let's show you how you can line it up here. Now, we have this great little tool, and I'm sorry if it's hard to see. I know underneath camera, sometimes it's hard to get these lights to appear and the way the camera is, but I can see this beam. Can you see that beam? I don't know if you guys can see it on the screen really well, but I know that I can use this. This is our PALS 3. I can crosshair this to make it perfect. So I know that I can line that beam up to my 0 mark, and my hoop is level. So next what I do is, I don't know if you can see, I put a seam here of my middle of my block. Now I'm going to move it here so that I know that my block is centered. So I'm going to move it down. I know it's hard to see, but I have these where I kind of iron them in the center. So all I would do is take my template, but I actually need to bring this down because I'm going to do one side at a time. So I'm going to bring this down. Keeping it centered. And I know it's centered because remember I have my beam here showing me that is centered. Let me undo my template here real quick and show you how I would line it up. So here is my center mark. I would put my tip on there, and then I would line this up to my template. And then I know that this is a little crooked, but no problem. All I have to do is do a little bit of adjustment, and look there. I lined it up perfectly. Now I would take it to my machine. I would drop my needle down and make sure I hit center there. Now I do recommend you pinning this. You want to pin this because when you pull this template off, it could possibly take your fabric with it because you're going to have to remove that template before you are done. So then I would stitch that spot. Once that is done, I would do the exact same thing to the opposite side. I would move my quilt block down, get it lined up back in I need a couple extra arms today. I would line it back up with my cross beam. Now this is already quilted. So then I would line up this design here. And I would be able to tell if that was straight on or not. Perfect. So then I would take this to my machine, drop my needle down, and then remove my template if it was perfect. Now remember, this is going to be pinned down because I don't want my block to move at all. And then I would stitch it. So that is how easy it is to stitch out a 12-inch block. So let's head back to the presentation. I hope that, guys, that helped you on how to quilt that large block. Well, I showed you how to line up that design. Now you saw me use my print and stick target paper. It is a template paper that feeds into your regular printer. And notice I printed on mine was too large for one sheet of paper, so it actually printed on 2 pieces of paper. So you may have to do 2 pieces of paper for your one design and then just cut them and line them up. But they're very easy. It is a low tack adhesive to be reused and reused. I usually can get quite a bit of reuse out of one template. I don't know how. Using my whole project, I can just use one template. Now you also saw me use that PAL 3 light. That is a laser beam that will showed on my block. It does crosshair beams. It attaches to your table. It has a flexible neck and a rotating tip. Now this is a very bright LED light. I know you probably couldn't see it underneath the camera, but if you were in person, my table was lighted up. That light is going to last forever, and it's on special today for $69.99. Now this is a new product that we just recently added, so take advantage of that. Now you saw me use my Snap Hoop Monster. Now I'm going to tell you one thing. When I quilt, I won't quilt without my Snap Hoop Monster because it makes my quilting go a lot faster. You know, trying to hoop into a standard hoop and getting it lined up, and it was just a headache for me. So I used to avoid using my standard hoops for quilting, and I didn't do a lot of in the hoop quilting. But until I found my Snap Hoop Monster and I was introduced to it, I love it. It holds a thick quilt sandwich, easily using that magnetic. Magnetic hoops are in the shopping. If they are something that you would like, make sure you add those to the shopping cart. You would not be disappointed. Now, I do want to point out here one thing though. Before you add it to your cart, I want you to check. I want you to look for your machine manufacturer. And then I want you to select that green button because it's going to drop down a menu and it's going to give you your machine model. But don't just stop there. You also need to choose your hoop size because the default hoop size is usually about a 4x4 hoop, and you may be a little disappointed because that quilting in the hoop may take forever if you do a 4x4. But don't forget your discount codes because those hoops are pretty heavy. So make sure you check out those discount codes before before heading on. Now let's take a look at a video from PJ Wong on a master block maker.
Hi all, it's PJ and I'm going to talk to you about the Monster Block Maker. The Monster Block Maker is designed to work with the Snap Hoop Monster, the single and the multi-needle, and also the sticky hoop for single needles. The Monster Block Maker is really a set of jigs, which is what these little guys are, to help you hold your quilt blocks when you do quilting in the hoop. It comes with 4 different sizes from 5 to 8 inch square. You get the jigs, the double stick tape, and the instructions. All that comes in the package. The Monster Block Maker will save you time and money, and best of all, it keeps the batting out of the seams when you do Quilt As You Go blocks. Let me show you how this works. Use the double stick tape to attach the jig to the metal frame, and then the double stick tape also goes around the hole on both sides, the back and the front. The back and the front blocks are cut 1 inch larger than the size of the block that you're making. This is a 6 inch jig, so these are 7 inch blocks. And then my batting is cut just slightly smaller than the 6 inch. It basically needs to sit inside of that hole. This is what keeps the batting out of the seam. Set the jig on top of your back block, that's face down. The batting is going to go in and it sits inside of that hole, and then your front block goes down. And I just press from the center to the outside and press that into the tape. The tape is really what's holding your block into place, but this is a great way to save time and save money. This is only 1 inch larger than the actual finished block size. I'm going to go stitch that block so you can see what it looks like when it's stitched. Here's our block all stitched. If you already had a pieced block, you could just simply sit the jig on top of it and position it within that hole and stick it to that tape. And then you could do your stippling or your embroidery design, whatever it is that you wanted to do. Here's a way that you can use the jig with a pre-pieced block. Any block that's got a diagonal piecing works really well for this because you can use your corners to line this up. So you would set this up just like you would before with a standard non-pieced block. I'm going to put the jig over the top, place my batting inside. And when I go to place my top block, I'm just going to gently fold this back, and I'm just looking to make sure that my seam is intersecting with that corner. And then down here again. And then same as before, I would just gently press that into the sticky tape and then do your stitching, and away you go. That's a very quick introduction to the Monster Block Maker.
Well, folks, Ashley took a picture of after she did the jig, as PJ refers it to, and look here. Look at the difference. It does save you money. The image on the left is using the jig, and the image on the right is without. I knew I wasted a lot of fabric and batting and stuff, but look at the difference. I mean, you really can see a big difference. But I'm gonna head over underneath my camera so that you can see the jig up close. Now, you get in the package, you get a 5, and then I have my 6 and a 7, and you get an 8 jig. It also comes with instructions, and also I know it's hard to see, but there also are some downloaded embroidery designs. They are so cute. I love that puppy paw print. So you get the instructions in there, and you get a full roll of the tape, as she mentioned. Now, I had already took my tape, and I did all 4 of my corners. Now, I want to point out here, because I had the question, I called Ashley one night and said, wait a minute. So when this first came out, we did not have our sticky hoops. So if you see in there that we tell you not to put adhesive on the back of your monster hoops, that is correct. Now, when they used to use monster hoop, they would only attach to the top and the bottom, and they would not do the sides, because we do not want you to ruin your velveteen strips. So I just wanted to point that out real quick before we get to this. But as you can see, I had already adhered this to the back side. So I'm going to just take off my tape here. Very easy. I had already installed this on here. So I'm going to take off my tape, and then I'm going to put my backing on. I have here my quilt sandwich. I have my backing, my main fabric, and my batting. So all I have to do is put my backing on and then flip it around. So there is my backing. So next I'm going to add my batting. Now look at my batting. My batting fits inside that square. So that means that I won't have to worry about any of my batting inside of my seam allowance. Isn't that great? And then I would just put my top fabric on, and then I would bring it to my machine, and it would stitch out my 6-inch block. Now, when you do this, remember, you're saving fabric, because this jig area here normally would have all that fabric in there. So hopefully that helps you on a little bit more of how to use that jig. But just look at all that fabric and batting and stuff that you would have wasted for that 6-inch block. Now this is an 8x8 frame. So let's head back to the presentation so I can show you how to get we are not going to the software. I need to go back to my presentation. So you saw the jig in action, but they work for only with our Monster 8x hoops, because the templates are 8x8s. So if you have a hoop that's bigger or smaller, it will not work with it. You do need the 8x8 hoops. Now we have the 8x8 hoops for our Brother, our Baby Lock, and our Janome machines. Now we talked about Mylar, but before we talked about Mylar, let's check with it and with Ashley to see if we have any questions or comments. Ashley, how's it going over there in the chat?
Hey, it's going good. I think they were enjoying your software demo. And then we did have a comment from a customer. I lost the name. I apologize. That was asking, they said that they love the idea of the software, but it seems they wondered if they could remember or how they would learn everything. And I know you went over some of that free education, but if you'll just mention again to everybody out there the ways to learn their software.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, the best way to learn the software, I feel like, is get in there and start playing. And yes, even if you purchase a software, get in there and play before you have your free 30-minute lessons, because I want you to play so then you can create the questions that you have. And a lot of times that is how I learned the software. I just got to learn to play. I made mistakes. That's why I said that was $1 million button, because I could just back myself out if I messed up. Another great way to learn is our user Facebook group. Now that Dime Facebook group, you'll get so many questions. And that's also where we can add pictures if we need to. And I know, Ashley, you are great. I see you lurking in there quite a bit, but also all the education team is over there. And then all the users that have been using the software is there. So that's another great way. And then, of course, you get that 30-minute private tutorial lessons. But something I forgot to point out, if you hover over icons in the software, there's actually an F2. If you hit that F2, sometimes you might have to hit function F2. It will bring up a video and it will tell you exactly what that icon function does and go through a little bit of short video. Now, it does not have a sound, so don't think anything's broken. But also, too, actually, there's a lot of YouTube videos out there that help you. Yeah. So there are tons of ways. But if you ever get stumped, hit that Facebook group, because that is the fastest way that I can tell you I've learned some of my questions that I had.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree. And since there are users from all over the world, they're in different time zones. So if you're stitching in the middle of the night, you might get an answer from somebody that's also up doing some stitching. So I agree. That's a great way to learn. And then on the Monster Block Maker, this is just a comment from Kirsten, but I definitely agree with it. So I thought it was worth sharing. And she said, wow, substantial fabric and batting savings from a 7-inch block versus the 10 inches that you're putting in the hoop. So, and I definitely agree on the Monster Block Maker for the fabric and the batting savings for sure. So
I agree. Actually, until I saw that picture that you took, I knew I was wasting some, but that picture really hit home. I'm like, wow.
I know. I don't think I even realized until I was working. Sometimes I wanted to go really quickly and just put my fabric in the hoop and not, put everything together for the Monster Block Maker. But once I had it all set up, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know that I'll go back, because I can conserve so much fabric. And I also like how it doesn't have the batting in the seams as well.
Yeah, I do too. I love that feature too.
Yeah, for sure. And so then Debbie just asked over in the chat, do we have Snap Hoop Monster for the Husqvarna Viking embroidery machines?
Oh, absolutely. All you have to do is go and find your manufacturer. I don't know which model. So you have to go under your Viking, and then they'll drop down a menu and it'll show you which model yours are and then which hoops that we have available for your model.
Awesome. So, and I think that's it for now, Tammy. I know you still have a lot more. I know that coming up is some different tips for block joining. So I can't wait to see what you have to share with us.
All right. Well, we'll get to it. And Ashley, thank you for those questions. Keep them coming. We love when you ask questions, and we will check with Ashley right at the end of the presentation. So let's talk about Mylar. I know we had several questions about Mylar. I love Mylar in my embroidery design because it just adds that extra little glitter, and I call it happiness. Now, embroidery designs that use Mylar are digitized for Mylar. You can't just take a regular embroidery design, slap Mylar on there, because the density has to be a little bit different. So Mylar is sometimes we use for embroidery is confused with Mylar from such as the balloons that you can get at the Dollar Tree or even cell phone. Those are totally two different ones. The plastic cell phone material that you see in the stores that we wrap up those Easter baskets, it's not the same thing. So avoid that. There is embroidery Mylar. Now, Mylar we use for embroidery. It's launderable. That color does not come off because the color is actually impregnated into that film. So you can put it in the laundry. I do recommend that you dry it on low or air dry it. I never had a problem with my Mylar. The only thing that I will tell you is you want to make sure, well, I think that I talk about that a little bit later, but our Mylar is a blue opalescent Mylar because it seems to take on the colors and it stays white. The white will stay white. Sometimes there's a yellow one out there, and sometimes that yellowy will make your white look a little dingy. So we found that this color is the best that keeps your colors true to their nature. So when you do an embroidery design that is meant to use with Mylar, that means that you'll probably have a fill area with a loose dents so that sparkle will show through it. So you need a loose, dense embroidery design for that sparkle to really pop. Now for the stabilizer needle, you want to choose a stabilizer needle based on the fabric that you're stitching. So no recommended certain stabilizer or needle needed for Mylar. Just remember, always base that off of the materials you're using. And if you're not for sure which one that is, I don't know if it's in the shopping pane or not, but Deborah Jones has a great embroidery compass that will help you pick in that stabilizer. Now, it also can be stitched with your regular embroidery needle, like I said, but so remember, needle and fabric versus on the fabric. Needle and stabilizer based on the fabric, not the Mylar. Mylar needs nothing special. Now, when you use Mylar normally, there is a spot in the design that will tell you, place your Mylar down. There's either going to be a placement stitch, or in the case of Pearly Gates design, there is a fill stitch that's really loose dense. And then you will put that piece of Mylar and you'll put more fill stitches on top of it. So basically, you have that Mylar between two layers. You will place that Mylar down with tape in place. Because Mylar is opalescent film, you don't want to use that spray adhesive because that spray adhesive can actually cloud your Mylar, making it dull and not sparkly. So it wouldn't have that shine and sparkly that you're trying to get that effect of. So you make sure that you use tape. Now the next part of the design will stitch, which is a fill stitch, and it usually loosens. It's a very loose dense. I mean, you want that sparkle to come through, and you can easily rip that Mylar away. Now, if you have any Mylar left behind in small little areas, I usually take my little tweezers and I can pick out those little pieces, but it really just is easy. It tears away nice and easy. I don't know if you guys work with vinyl any, but how that vinyl tears really easy, so does the Mylar. Now, when you're all done, you've got a little bit of sparkle in your embroidery. Now, the designs that we worked with today, you saw a couple of them in my samples, that sew, and then in the, another Pearly Gates, the one with this little chef that had some Mylar. It does really give that extra pop without having all that glitter flying around in your house. Now, we do have some collections from Pearly Gates that had the Mylar, but we also have Mylar designs with our Mylar Floor collection and the Butterfly Mylar collection. I'm working on a Butterfly Mylar collection right now, and it really does pop. I can't wait to get that sample done to show you guys, but it is beautiful. If you're interested in any of those, they are below the presentation. But look, you can not only do a quilt, what about doing a pillow or a bag? I mean, you can put Mylar. I put it on clothes. I did quilting on clothes. Wherever you do embroidery, you can add that Mylar. But just remember, you're going to need that Mylar stitch design. Now, we do have Mylar film on sale today. It is that opalescent film that I told you about. It stays true to its color, and it picks up every color, and it adds that beautiful sparkle. The Mylar embroidery designs from Pearly Gates are also available below. This Mylar sewing swirls, that was what I used in one of my collections. For my sewing room, I like that saying that I used on there because my sewing room seems always to have problems of staying clean. But you can see in the pictures here that little bit of sparkle. Here you can see it on a shirt that I told you about, or look at that great staple hanger. That is a great Quilt As You Go project. So that is great to do for a Quilt As You Go, and you get your Mylar. So check that out below. We also have Mylar Chefs, which is a cute little collection. We also have Mylar Chefs 2. Both bundles together, but they look at the same cute little things. One I think is the men collection, and the other one contains the women. I believe that's the two difference of the collections. But look at that apron and the wine bottle holder of the trivet. Isn't that darling? Yep, there's my Mylar 2. It is available as well down below. It is a cute design, but that's for our female chefs. We have one for our male chefs and now for our female chefs. And look at all the designs that you can do. I mean, there's so many designs that you can do. They look beautiful on themselves, but what about a quilt? What if you have a chef in your family that is a chef in the family? You can do a cute little lap quilt. I think that would be darling. Now, for their chef collection, we have our skin tone thread assortments. If you have never done embroidery design on people before, sometimes the hardest thing is to match up a skin color. So we put together a box of 12 different spools of exquisite thread to match colors of different ethnicities of skin, so that it's great set to have on hand to get that skin tone. But of course, we like to bundle. Remember, I told you, make sure you check out these bundles. The bundles, both collection of, and it also includes the skin tone thread and the Mylar. It's called Make It with Pearly Gates bundle. You get both of the Pearly Gates design collections. You get that skin tones and the Mylar. So check out that bundle out below as well. Now here is one of my favorite collections. This is the floral monogram. You saw one of my examples I used in those pictures. They make gorgeous wall hangings. There is an uppercase and then there is a lowercase. These beautifully are run stitch designs with the background of embellishment that brings out that sparkly mylar flowers. Look on the back of that jacket. I love this. Have you ever went to a thrift store and just pick out jackets to embroider on? I know I like to practice on jackets because denim jacket sometimes is a great foundation piece to do your embroidery designs on. But look how gorgeous that looks with the monogram and that pillow. I mean, I can go on and design with this collection. You can do a name. You could do monograms. How cute would it be for a baby's room? Now, we wonder about our stitches. One of the nice things about that Mylar is using the variegated thread. It is cute. It is a run stitch. Most of our quilting is done in run stitches, so it adds that to the background to add a touch of color. Now the variegated thread's on special. We have a 4-pack of our rainbow medley today. Now here is one of my favorite color sets is the color play thread sets. Now it is 1 spool of variegated thread and 4 matching colors. Have you ever tried to match up colors to your variegated thread and you just hit it wrong? Well, they took all the problem out and they created these sets for us. Now we do have a bundle for both of our monogram collections and the Mylar, plus a color play set of your choice. There are over 12 different color play sets. Say It with Pearly Gate bundle is available down below, but make sure that you select your proper colors that you want on your thread of choice. They are listed in city names. Those aren't cities that you live in. Those are city names of the thread. So make sure you get the coordinating thread to match the city names there. I can tell you that if you like purple, Madison would be your choice. Now we'll talk about needles. We all need needles, right? Well, most of the designs here, you're going to use a 7511 sharp needle. You can use that with your Mylar projects as well. We have a package here. It's all sharps. That's 100 needles for $39.99, a great price. Now, have you ever had problems in inserting your needle? Well, there's a tool for you. It's really nice to help you change your needle. It has a long handle to reach in a small space and opening that ensures the correct orientation of that needle. Plus, you don't have to worry about that needle falling down into your bobbin case. Now on that Pearly Gates, you've seen those designs. There was a lot of color changes. So what more better thing to keep those colors organized is these color trays. This is a new product here at Dime. It holds your spools. It does come with 2 trays and a dry eraser marker. Look how cute. Now you can see here, I think that was over 12 different color changes. It kept those nice and organized to do that little trivet there. Now this is, we already had our break, but before we're going to continue on. We're not going to have another break because we're almost at the end of the presentation because we still need to talk about methods of joining them. Now there are tons of different methods out there. If you're looking for joining your quilts, you can probably hit YouTube and find over thousands of them. But we have picked out some of our favorite ones to share with you. The first one is you're stitching your blocks and you're going to trim your blocks at 1/4 inch. This is a cool technique and easy to do. You can butt your blocks together and just use a zigzag stitch and sew and then on your sewing machine, do a zigzag stitch over them to hold those 2 together. That's what I did in that wall hanging. You can even use a piece of wash away adhesive stabilizer to the back to help you hold those blocks together while you sew them together. Now, when you use a zigzag, those will go to use an edge joining foot and maybe a decorative stitch if you want. That would add a nice feature. Now, if you want, you could actually cover that with a bias tape or a ribbon or some sort of decorative trim. Now, you saw my rickrack, and we're going to be going under the camera a little bit, and I'm going to show you some more in detail. They're really easy ways to join your blocks. Once you sew them together, you just got to cover up your seams, the front and the back. Now, this technique is one of the, this technique I use the most. I would quilt a block in what we call a quilt cracker. That would be the top fabric and the batting instead of the whole sandwich. It's just that one piece of batting and the top of your quilt. And then you're going to just stitch through those 2 layers. Then you're going to seam those together right side together, and you're going to press your seam open in the back, and then you're going to put your backing on, and then you're going to do a stitch in the ditch. Now that is probably one of my techniques I probably go to the most. You could also do this with wrong sides together and then put your strips on the front with the bias tape or ribbon to cover up to create a border effect. Or you can just put them right sides together, then add a lining to the back of it like you see in this back here. Now we do have stipple designs that I mentioned a couple of times throughout the beginning. Stipple is a set of design collections that was created by Eileen Roach. Now you can quilt and you can do applique through all 3 layers because the applique has some run stitches that really looks great on the back side. We have a variety of stipple collections down below. I won't go all over them because there's so many to share with you, but the benefits of doing this is that your stipple design is included. You're quilting through all 3 layers, and you also have applique designs which are super cute. You will make a quilt sandwich. You will stipple through all 3 layers. Once you're done, you're going to add your applique, and then you're going to trim your fabric. And then once your block is finished, you're actually going to join them with Eileen's reversible sashing piecing technique. This is all done putting 2 pieces of sashing on 1 block and joining those together, all right sides together, and stitch a half a seam once you have joined the 2 sashes pieces in 1 block. Don't worry, I know that was a lot, but I'm going to show you under the camera. Now the front sashing piece is joined to the opposite side of black with a half seam as well. And you open it up, and for some reason those go together butt up perfectly and they fill that open spot. I was amazed how it worked. It was kind of entertaining to see that it coming all together. Now the last thing you want to do is you're going to fold over that piece of binding, and you're going to do like a stitch in the ditch. Now let's go underneath the camera so we can show you how to finish those blocks. Sometimes it's just easier to go underneath the camera and see some of those blocks already done. Now, I know you've already seen my Sea Life stipple, but I just wanted to show you because I used 2 different techniques here. I stitch out my blocks. This is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are 7 different blocks here. And they're all different sizes, as you can see here. So I thought, what am I going to do? Because this seam does not go all the way across. So I couldn't do a stitch in the ditch, on this. And then I was confused. So I thought, well, I'll just I joined them right side together, and then I covered my seam with a piece of binding. I thought that looked cute, and so I just mirrored the image down here to kind of break it up a little bit. And then for the remaining blocks, I put them right sides together, and I actually just did a stitch in the ditch. So that was 2 different methods that I used on this 1 block. Oh, I had that upside down. I am so sorry. So that is couple different methods that I did on this one. So I did stitch in the ditch, and then I used a seam. Now the next one I want to show you is our reversible stashing. Now here you can see that I created this design. I already did the top stitching because I don't have a sewing machine here, but I wanted to show you how it was put together. So imagine these 2 blocks separate, and then I had my binding, right? So what I did first was I took my top binding right sides together, and then I took my back binding, Then I took my back binding right sides together, and I stitched a half an inch. So that was complete. So then on the front side, what I did was I ironed that piece open, okay? So imagine this was ironed flat, open, without this here. The next thing I did was I took my other block and I lined the right sides together with that top block. And remember, the back banding I didn't do anything with. I only stitched it on the first time. So the second block, you're going to take it right sides together. You're going to line your right side even with that binding strip. So then once you're done, you would open it up and you would press it. And there was your binding. So then if you flip it around to the back, you can see how they're just already falling together. Isn't that neat? I was so amazed. So like I said, they just fall perfectly together. You would flip this over. Now, I like to fold this under a half an inch, about 1/4 of an inch. That's my preference. And then I would pin it here. And then I would flip it to the front. And then I could do I can do a stitch in the ditch. It would grab the back of that binding, and I do it on both sides. Or I can do a decorative stitch. Now here I want to point out a couple things. On the front side, I use a binding strip, a contrasting color. So then when all my blocks are done, it's going to do that window effect. So it's going to really do a neat effect. Now on the back side here, I chose to do the same color. Now this gives it more of a plain look on the back, so it would blend in with my designs. But look at the back of the stitching. I think the back of the stitching looks just as great as the front of it. So I hope that helps you a little bit on the reverse technique of Eileen's. I know it was a lot, but remember you can watch this video all the way up until Sunday. And of course you get all the instructions on the reverse sashing with every one of your stipple designs. Now let's talk about putting right side together. So in this block here, I just did a plain block. I embellished these blocks, and then I did my echo quilting. I love working with batiks. Batiks are one of my favorite things to work with. I think they're beautiful. You can use a solid color of thread, and it always turns out great. So I just put right sides together. So then on the back here, I did right sides together. And then I did a stitch in the ditch. So right sides together, and then I took my 2 blocks and put right sides together. So on the back here, you can see I opened my seams up and I laid them flat. And then I took a piece of my back fabric. Now I have already covered my seams up, but I did stitch in the ditch to give that quilting effect, because I didn't want quilting effect on the top to take away from my embellished designs. This is another technique that I like too, but I took a piece of binding and I used a piece of our fusible interfacing, and I put that on the back of there, and I've already put this down. Now I can go back and hand stitch this on, or I can do a little zigzag stitch to add that as well. But here you can see I have a piece of my binding already done. Here is my fusible that I added to the back here. You can't hardly see it, but it's a sticky. So this is actually a sticky back. So I would just put that on. I would iron that on, and it would cover up my seam. So that's another way that you can finish your backing. So your back of your quilt would have these binding strips to give it that window effect, whereas in the front, it's just going to be your embroidery designs. Now you can do exactly the same thing on the front of it if that's something you want to. You can add those strips on there as well. So there's just another options for you to do on finishing your quilt block. Now here is one more that I want to show you before we end for today. This is where you're going to do, this design is baby stipples. It is so cute. I'm actually going to turn this into a burp rag. So like I said, we have to do small projects because you have to see them on the camera. So I stitched this out. I use Oh, I just lost the name of this. I use flannel. There it is. Flannel for my front and flannel for my back, because that gives a real soft texture. And just remember, flannel shrinks. So before you do your design, I would recommend that you wash your flannel before you work with it. But this stipple baby, you actually will create in rows. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put them wrong sides together. You're going to do about a half of a seam allowance, because when they're done, you're going to snip these corners. And I don't have my scissors right handy real quick, but you're going to snip these corners. And as it ages and as it goes through that laundry, these are going to give like a rag effect. This is a really cute design. I love this. I will make quilt rag quilts for babies, but this is darling. So that is the baby stipple. So I head back to the presentation because I know we're almost done. We're almost out of time. We can sit here and probably talk about this for hours and hours, but unfortunately they don't let me talk for hours about our software. So I do want to let you know there is an embroidery 8 lessons book available down below that you can purchase that will help you walk step by step on how to create and how to do some of these backings as well. It has, look at all these 35 designs for you. And here is a couple of the collections. As you can see, that medallion, I love that medallion. Flower medallion is beautiful. And we also have a all season borders. And here is that sprinkles that you saw with my ice cream that I used. Here is the butterfly, stippled butterfly. Here is the stippled dog. It's a very popular one, especially for our veterinarians. We have one of our educators that she gets commented on all of her events about how they love her stippled dogs. And of course, we have our stippled cats. All these collections are down below. I'm just trying to go through these real quick to see that there's so many designs out there that if you didn't want to create your own, you can purchase them. This is that medallion that I used that I showed you with my reversible sashing. And then, of course, a holiday collection. And then there's also design packs in there as well. And here is my sea life and my seashells for all those. And then also here's a tip I wanted to tell you really quick before we finish. This is what I do a lot. To conserve fabric is actually Eileen's stipple method. When she uses stipple techniques, you're quilting through all 3 layers. So you're going to have your top favor, your batting, and your back favor. She will do a strip of fabric and she will just move her designs. Now you're going to leave about a roughly 2 inches in there, but actually this kind of conserves it because you can have some of that already stitched underneath your hoop. You could hoop under, with your magnetic hoop without interfering with it. So it does conserve some of your fabric. Now, we do need fabric to fill up your whole hoop. So just keep that in mind, but this helps with the waste of our fabric. Here is that stipple baby that I showed you. And here is a weightless quilter to help you with those, a handy tool to help you with if you're working, especially if you're doing that roll at a time. It is great. It's portable. It's for 54 inches or smaller. This is one of our new products, and it's on event price for $59.99. And here, of course, here is our stipple beach. And that was all of our stipples. Now, we have tons of stipples, as you can see, throughout these designs. I know I'm rushing through here, but I know your time is valuable. So I just wanted to show you all the different designs that you can create with using this design collection. So we're going to have Ashley join me on screen to see if there's any last minute questions or comments. Hi, Ashley.
Hey, I think we've handled everything over in the chat. And so I did remind them that they could rewatch the presentation for the next 48 hours with their original link all the way through Sunday night, since it's now Thursday. We're getting close to the weekend. So yeah, it was great to be with everybody in the chat. Kirsten was amazing. She was answering a ton of the questions, so I really appreciate her help over there. But I think everybody enjoyed your presentation, Tammy, so thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ashley. I couldn't do it without you. It's always great working with you and having you on the chat because I know they're taken care of. So on behalf of myself and everyone at Dime, I want to say a big thank you to embroideries.com for hosting. And it sounds like Kirsten was a great help over there. So thank you for sharing your fans and followers for us for the last 90 minutes. And until we have another great presentation from Dime and embroidery.com, we will say bye for now.